Hello there and welcome back to Midlife Rises. I'm Cheryl. I took a quick trip to Miami for the July the 4th holiday. I went to spend some time with my grandkids. It was unbelievable. But I am burnt right now. It's pretty late. I was supposed to get something done before I left, but again, the time, I'm not even going to say anything at this point. It is just crazy how this thing is flying. So before I get started on today's topic, I want to point out something that I've been noticing, and I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about it. In the event there's an official watching this show, we have to do something about these bikes. The scooters, the motorcycles, the bicycles. There are no rules. The bikes, they're not in these bike lanes. And they're coming up like down streets. They're just coming out on green lights. And I've noticed they're not looking, almost as if it's our responsibility to make sure that they're not hit. Now, I'm just pointing this out because we have rules that we have to follow. And I believe these guys should be following them as well, just to avoid accidents. These guys are out of control. There are bike lanes, they're not using them. They're not using those flashers in the night. Thank God I see very well. It is reckless right now. As motorists, we've got to have insurance in place. We've got to follow rules. Why aren't these rules being applied to these guys? These motorcycles and scooters and bicycles, something needs to be put in place. It is out of control right now, and I'm just hoping that someone is seeing this, because something needs to be done. Some form of rules need to be put in place. It is just not fair for them to be this reckless. These guys are going through the green light and they're not looking to even see. Something needs to be done. Okay? And I'm just hoping that some kind of official is seeing this, where something is put in place. All right, so I'm happy to be back, and I apologize for the lapse in time. I don't know. I just don't know. The time is just getting away from me. But today I'd like to talk about self-love. We had spent a lot of time last year discussing this, and I want to reiterate a few of the things we talked about, simply because this stuff is important. It is the foundation. It's both for men and women, but again, this is a woman's talk show, so I'm going to focus on this because we really take the brunt of it. Midlife women, the woman that is over 40 and 50. I just want to touch base with this right now because on a whole, when we work our way up to midlife years, a lot is taking place. We all had some form of trauma, but some of us work on it and some of us don't. We get into our adult life and we bring these things with us. But the men, they're not as open about certain things as women are, but we're all doing the same thing in terms of having a private talk show. We all have that, and we are starring in it. I can talk comfortably about this stuff because I've been through a lot. And this is why I know there's absolutely no excuse for us to get into our adult life and not know who we are and what we stand for as an individual. Not be authentic. A lot of us are trying to outdo the other person and we lose our focus. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we don't work on our emotional intelligence. That thing called emotion is our full makeup. And if we're not able to control that, then things will go awry, for sure. This is overall. We have to take time to deal with our insecurities, to deal with our traumas. We have to have that quiet time, that alone time, that me time that we're spending with ourselves. a lot of us, we don't like to do that. It is very important to be your best friend. It starts there, because this is where the self-love, confidence, and everything else is built on. If you are running away from yourself, which is impossible to do, then you're not growing. So what's taking place is a lot of us are growing older, but we're not really growing. And then we become husbands, wives, mothers, and everything is done halfway because we are not whole within ourselves. So there are different parts to this thing, but I just want to focus on the self-love, because when you have that, you'll have certain principles in place where no one can break you. No one can interfere with your confidence. If you are someone that is looking for someone to validate you, then that is where we run into a problem. Middle-aged men are not as stable as we need. A lot of them are not dealing with their issues, and they're in a position to control a lot of things, to control the narrative on how we live our lives. Because if that's a partner, a husband, and he's not whole, then you as the wife or the partner is going to suffer, because you will be abused and you will not be in a position to deal with it, because you have not built the skills. You didn't do the work. So when we talk about doing the work, that is basically facing your issues, building on your emotional intelligence, being able to control your emotions, understanding your pain and working with it, as opposed to turning the other cheek, because it does not go away. And a lot of us look for ways to mask it. You know, drugs, alcohol, sex. A lot of women will go from relationship to relationship, or basically just out there. That is beyond me, because I've never lived my life like that. I've always been very conservative. You know, a lot of times I sit here and I talk, and I'm quite sure that I'm coming across as being self-righteous. But I want to really make that clear, that, you know, when you have confidence, it doesn't really mean that you're conceited or you think you're better than anybody else. It just means that you understand who you are as an individual, and, you know, you're whole within yourself. You're authentic. You're being yourself. When you have that disposition, you'll very seldom be finding yourself competing or being envious of someone else. I mean, we all have our little qualms that we feel, but it wouldn't be where you are the green-eyed monster. And I love that old adage, because that's exactly what it is. When you find yourself competing with someone, it simply means that you don't know what you stand for. So you'll always be looking for someone to compete. You'll always be trying to outdo the other person. You know, after a while, that stuff gets very, very tiring. I just can't imagine how someone can continuously live like that, and there are a lot of people out here doing it. Now, I don't want to get too off course, because what we're talking about here is having that self-love. And again, the way you do it is by having that me time, learning to spend time with yourself. And this is even when you're in a relationship, and more or less when you are out of one. Take time to understand your pain, to understand your shortcomings, and work with it. Do your self-talks. Have your emotions intact, where you are not only understanding your emotions, but the emotions of others. And then basically using that knowledge to act accordingly. Our focus is so out of whack. We study and then we come out to make money, and we neglect the most important thing, which is self. So we go for the big house, the luxury car, the expensive pocketbooks, and so on and so on. There's nothing wrong with having nice things, but there are other things that's going on in the world that need to be paid attention to. A lot of us are like superficial. We're into clout and all of the other craziness, and we're not thinking that one day we have to, we have to deal with ourselves. We have to be able to cope with what is going on around us, to learn life's skills, the basic skills. Just being comfortable in your skin and respecting yourself, not allowing anyone to have you lower your standards. We have a lot of confident women out here, women like myself that are taking care of ourselves and not really looking for anyone to validate us. Being confident and comfortable in your skin doesn't mean that you are running around hurting others or not being respectful to another person. No, what we're talking about is being a well-rounded individual where you respect yourself as well as the other person, that you have the humility where you can deal with someone on every level. More importantly is to not fall in that groove where you are being taken advantage of because you don't have that self-confidence, you don't have that self-love. We have men out here that are preying on middle-aged women, insecure women, and it's no joke. Being independent is one thing, but how do you feel about you? Are you allowing others to walk all over you? Are you not respecting yourself as a woman? I go outside, and we're in the summer right now in the New York area, and it is ridiculous as far as women, the way they're dressing themselves. The other day I came out, I forgot where I was. Oh, I had gone to a concert. I won a concert through my job, and a friend was meeting me, and we started laughing because this woman looked like she was working. She looked like she was working. And I mean, when I talk about being confident, it's not like that. I mean, you have to respect yourself. You have to. Okay? From the time we get over 40, it's like we're obsolete. So it is very important to have that balance. We're coming across a batch that have unhealthy egos. Then you've got some that are dealing with traumas that they have not worked out, and they're looking for someone to pay for that. We're living in a very interesting time, and so if you are middle-aged and you haven't done the work in terms of having yourself centered, you're in for a lot of trouble. Narcissistic personality disorders. That one, I mean, I'm going to continue to point that out because it's a personality disorder. The way you can pinpoint these individuals is everything is grandiose. They have a Ferrari, they have a 10-bedroom house. There's a lot of lying taking place. That's part of it. But the dangerous part is that the individual needs a supply. And that supply, it's kind of like a vampire or a parasite. The supply is you are going to be tortured, provoked, so that you can react. And when you react, that's the supply. So you're never really able to have a healthy relationship with someone with this disorder. But I mean, as long as you are balanced and centered you're able to deal with this, but you have to understand what you are dealing with. Because if you come up to an individual with this issue and you're not aware of it, you can wind up having to go for therapy, because the person needs to totally drain you of your energy, remove your confidence, break you, so to speak. And then if you're not willing to participate, or if you catch on and you end the relationship, the individual is now going to work on ruining your reputation. If you're a person, as I mentioned before, that thrive on clout, then that can be an issue. But if it's not something that you care about, then you just need to do what you have to do to keep yourself healthy. I'm telling you, when you have that self-love, you will be able to draw the line when you come up against these different individuals that I just mentioned, because it's no joke. It is no joke out here. I mean, I love a beautiful man. I'm not saying that I'm just gonna go with that. I absolutely need someone that is respectful, one that sees the value in me, because I've done the work and I need to be recognized for that. So I can't be with someone that behaves like a 15-year-old, especially if I'm looking at an older person. That's a problem. That is a very serious problem. And so, you know, we have a lot that we deal with as midlife women, because someone who is not mature, and you have a lot of men that did not grow up. You know, they left their mom's house and they went right into a relationship or a marriage, and they never spent that time alone to do the growth so that they could be a man of the house. Now see, it's funny because my mom, she told me, you know, your man is not born yet and his mother is dead. I think that's hysterical. What she was trying to say is my standards are high. And it's not really. It's just that we are dealing with just a handful of men at this point. The other 75%, they just did not grow up. They did not do the work. And a lot of them are troubled. And this is what we have to deal with as midlife women. And you've got a lot of strong, confident women out here. And the ones like myself who is not willing to play any games, we're just not having it. I mean, I want to speak for myself at this point, but I can pretty much tell that that is what is going on. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm only dealing with established men. That's not my style. If it was, I would have been married and settled down a long time ago. Like a serious man. A man who is take charge. And I mean, I don't want someone bending my arm behind my back and stuff like that, but I like a strong man. I like a man who is, you know, take charge and is basically mature. One who is not able to see the value in me, that is not going to work. Okay? I need to be with someone that understands what he has on his hand. Being in a relationship with me where you're challenging me and trying to break my confidence and stuff, it's pretty much like walking into a gas station with gasoline drawers on. I heard that the other day. I thought it was hysterical, because you know, that is like, it will blow up. It will absolutely blow up in your face, because my dad was one of the millionaires in my country, and what I saw him doing, I wasn't raised with him, but I used to go and spend time, and what I saw him doing, I made a promise to myself that I would never be in that situation. Like, I learned what I needed to learn to take care of me, and whatever insecurities and shortcomings I had, I worked on it. And I did that so that I will understand who I am as an individual, and, you know what I have to do to be a better person. For example, when I came out of school, I started out at an insurance company in Midtown, and then I went into law. I went into the legal field. So I was training attorneys when they came out of school and doing help desk, word processing, that kind of thing. And I started at this company as an operator, a lead operator, and next thing you know, I was hearing supervisor. I'm the evening supervisor. And I went and I took management classes. No one asked me to do that, but I did it simply because I know it was required to understand how to deal with the people that I had to, offer support to work with the people that worked under me. I had to understand what it took to manage people. And I just kept on building on that. And this is what I believe we are not doing. Like, we're going out there and we're learning a skill, but we have no understanding on emotions and what it takes to build on self. I'm talking about in the everyday life, in our professional life and our personal life. We need to have that self-love so that we can build the confidence, and everything else comes from that. Humility, our morals, our character, everything just gets balanced. And so we are not disrespectful to others. We understand the principles of really being a good human being. A lot of us have things going on in the back end and not dealing with it, and we are causing a lot of problems, not only for ourselves, but people who depend on us to have healthy relationships, friendships, partnerships, marriages. We just basically have to have that balance. And the way you do it is by spending time with yourself and building on that. We have a tendency to hold our issues under the arm like a clutch purse, as my sister used to say. And when we do that, it causes a lot of problems. The anger, the bitterness, the vindictiveness, it all comes out. And there is no way that you can bloom and really have fruit of the Spirit when you are, carrying on like that. There's one thing that I do want to point out that I have not touched base with, is you have to be a believer. I'm talking about building self-love and stuff like that, but let's not forget that there is someone higher than us that we need to depend on to give us the understanding. Meditation, prayers, that's something that you have to make part of your life. Because if you have nothing that you believe in, then you have no principles. You have any idea how dangerous that is? Very. Okay? So that is pretty much it. It's late. I didn't want any more time to go by. But to be high on life and to really have that fruit of the Spirit and the confidence, that's the way you do it. That is how it's done. I said a few times that I'm in a good place and I'm happy, and I am. I'm always happy. I have things that happen to me. I have things going on, things that I've had to battle, but I know how to pray. Nothing happens without that. That's like a big part of it. God, the universe, however you want to say it, understand that nothing happens without that, because you've got to have light, and that is how you get it. When we talk about darkness, we're talking about anger, the bitterness, depression, the anxiety. I myself used to have issues with anxiety, and I think what used to bother me is I have a lot that I do. I'm like high on life. I like learning, and I'm always looking to, to better myself with something. And your body, it's only so much that it can do, and the way it will respond is by giving anxiety. I mean, it comes in different modes, but that is how I got it. I had way too much that I was doing, and it was basically telling me, you've got to take it down a couple of notches. So your body will let you know. But as far as where I was talking about like darkness and depression, bipolar and stuff like that, it comes from you not dealing with stuff, not having that me time, having the wrong self-talks. I think a couple of years ago, on a couple of episodes back, I was saying that constant sadness, it brings on depression. That's what it does. When I say having me time, I'm serious. Like, you have to be able to look in the mirror and say, you poor thing. You have to be your best friend. And when you do that, you'll be conscious that this is your temple and you have to take care of it. I wrote an article one time about that. Love the one you're in, because without this, you are nothing. Do that quiet time, listening, actually listening to what you have to say, and then build on it, work on it, do the work. In the long run, it will help you to balance yourself. Have that self-love, and when you have it on the inside, not with the Louis Vuitton bag and the jewelry and the this and the that, I mean really having the self-love inside. When you have it the right way inside, it absolutely permeates on the outside. That's how you do it. Okay, so this wraps up the show. Thank you so much for sitting with me. We come on every first and third Tuesday and Thursday of the month. They actually gave me more time. But yeah, the trip running out to Miami, it's always nice. Back in November I made the trip, but the baby girl was only a few months old, and this time she is a big girl. She is hysterical. Now she knows everyone. Thanks again for joining me, and we will see you next time. You take care now.